Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Talk of the Town here on mycountylink.com as we continue to bring you interesting people, places, and events that take place here not only in Darke County, but also West Central Ohio. I'm Alex Warner. We're here with videographer Nick Schmidt, as always. And with us today, a longtime friend and acquaintance, Darke County Commissioner Larry Holmes. And Larry, it's just great to get you here because we've got a lot to talk about. This man's probably one of the more well-known personalities here in Darke County and just been involved in so many things over the years. We want to touch base with Larry as he wraps up his term as Darke County Commissioner here, correct? When is that?
That's January 2nd, I believe, if I have the right date.
And you've been on the commission how long now?
I'll finish 4 years.
This will be
full term.
Yeah, I got his full term in and everything. Well, let's talk a little bit about Larry Holmes there.
Okay.
Greenville boy, Darke County native. Let's talk just a little bit about your background and schooling and so forth.
Okay, well, thank you for inviting me, Alex. And actually, we moved to Greenville when I was in second grade.
Okay.
And so...
Well, you're considered a native by now.
After 62 years, or whatever that is, I would hope I'm a native. But we moved up here in the early 60s and went to Woodland Heights.
When you said moved up here, from where?
We were living in the Kettering area at the time.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. My grandparents on both sides are from the Dayton area, or
Okay.
Kettering. One set of grandparents just off of Dorothy Lane, and actually the other set of grandparents had a farm where 675 and 725 now intersect. So
a good piece of real estate to have.
they took it under eminent domain. So
Yeah.
it didn't work
too
out.
bad.
It didn't take it quite. It didn't work out quite the way they are.
Okay.
And my grandfather had a neighborhood grocery store he ran for 45 years or so.
Okay.
Yeah, and so that was the roots. We came up here, went through Woodland Heights, the junior high school, graduated in '73 is when I graduated.
Right.
And then the adventure began, and I started working full time.
Well, where'd you go to college?
Well, and went to college full time at night. I started.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, so well, maybe back up a step, and my father never quite got over this. I had a full scholarship to Ohio State in engineering, and I wasn't quite ready to go. And I didn't realize you couldn't say, "I'll see you next year." So,
really?
Yeah, so as a result, I gave up a scholarship, and so it set a different path. I worked full-time at night at Fort Recovery. I probably worked full-time during the day at Fort Recovery Industries, loaded trucks on the weekends at Cheeseman, and then went to college full-time, starting out at Wright State Lake Campus. So, and eventually I got a 2-year degree at the Lake Campus, a 4-year accounting degree at the main campus, then moved on and got a master's in financial administration. And I did that all as a night student.
Wow.
And most of the time as a full-time student.
Now, see, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I'll be darned. Self-made man then.
It was, yes, I guess you could say that. I didn't, I'm never, sometimes I don't take the easy path, and that was an example of that. But we made it through, and it paid off dividends, and I had a great career.
I was going to say, you said you were working at Fort Recovery Industries right out of high school then.
Yeah, I went right out of high school, worked out in the plant, was there about 1.5 years, not quite 2 years. Left as an apprentice toolmaker, and actually went to Greenville National Bank here in town. Was there not quite 2 years. Went through their officer training program, and back then it was kind of like school teachers. You didn't make a whole lot of money, and it was hard to sometimes make.
You were paying your dues, and the dues weren't paying you.
I guess. So I made a transition to Century Electric in Gettysburg, and that was my first management accounting position. Was at Century Electric, that was in the Peterson building at that time, and the main street of Gettysburg. And that facility's not there now, nor is that organization. Met and worked with some really good people there. Mm-hmm. And actually, Ray Dunaway, who started Ramco Rotor over here, he was the general manager when I was there. And so I spent about 2.5 years there. as in the accounting area, and had some opportunities there, but then had the opportunity to go back to Fort Recovery Industries, and that led to a 43-year career there.
Right.
I went in as their IT manager, and part of the agreement at that time was that if I did my part in the company grew, which they did when I went, I think.
Quite a bit.
Yeah, we were very fortunate. We were 60 folks, I think, back when I rejoined them, and worked through the accounting area and finance. I ended up being the financial officer of the company for about 35 years. Got involved in a whole lot of different stuff that I really enjoyed there, from general management to finance and involvement with pension and healthcare administration. So just a really good
Good broad
run.
background.
Yeah.
In the business.
Yeah, it was. And we had 50 people when I was there. We were paying 500 when I retired. And the day I retired was the day they shut the state down for the pandemic.
Oh.
That was the last day I did, and I've never had a chance to really go back and say much to folks. In fact, I haven't been back.
That's too bad.
And it's just the way it works.
Yeah.
And they had a joint venture in China that had about 500 folks that was involved in that. So it was a fun ride.
Yeah,
it really
that was a long ride, yeah.
Yeah.
Because when I think of you, I just always think Fort Recovery Industries. I didn't know the background with Century and Greenville National.
Yeah.
And the others like
Yeah,
that.
made a circle, but I
Made a
got
circle,
back.
but you came back.
Came back.
And you retired then just at the very start in 2020 with the pandemic all
Right.
set.
Yeah,
Okay.
Good Friday in 2020.
Yeah, well, I'll be darned.
Was the date, and but I also had, when I was on got involved in different things.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that in just a little
and,
bit, yeah.
And that led to me being interested in running for a
Well,
county
it freed up
commission.
some time. Then.
Freed up some time and a chance to give back to the community.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit before we get into all that about your family.
Yeah, and I enjoy that, because that's probably, if you ask me what I'm most proud of, would be the family.
Uh-huh.
And we have four grown children. They were raised here in Greenville.
You might say we're including Carol in
Yeah,
that.
Carol.
Carol
Yeah.
came along, right?
And she probably has more responsibility for how they turned out than I do, quite honestly. Yeah, we have four children. Carol and I have been married close to 46 years. Be 46 years next month. And our four children, two are here in the community, and two have escaped.
Oh.
And our oldest, Heather, is here in the community with her family and three children. She's with the Darke County ESC, doing speech and language pathology and being busy being a wife and a mom.
Okay.
Our youngest is here in the community with his three children. Carrie and him have three children. Their youngest is just 6 months old. And
That'd be Kent.
that'd be Kent. And he's with Apple Farms, and
Right.
does their marketing, I believe.
I want to throw a side in on Kent. Kent, I think his junior and senior year of high school, worked with Ty House and I on football as well as high school basketball broadcast. He's kind of a predecessor to Nick Schmidt over here, you know. But Kent did a great job for us. He's a really good guy, and I know he does a great job up there at Apple. So.
Good. Yeah, I get a kick out of him.
Yeah, he's a good kid. He's not a kid anymore.
No, he's
I
not a
shouldn't say.
kid, and yes, he was with Ty and you. And,
Yeah, we really enjoyed Kent quite a bit.
yeah, and he enjoyed you guys. Yeah.
And your other two who made the escape?
The escape, Bart is our oldest son. He's a mechanical engineer. He is, I don't know the organization with, but they recently moved to Powell, just north of the zoo, Columbus Zoo, and they have two children. Jessica and him have two children, 7 and 4, and we try to see them as much as we can.
Right.
He's doing independent sales and marketing for large HVAC kind of solutions. It seems he's enjoying it.
Okay, good.
And our middle son, Jeff, is with the Ohio EPA.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and he's down in the Dayton office. He also went to the University of Dayton like his brother did, and got interested in wastewater, and that led to a short stint with an environmental organization down in Cincinnati, and then with the Ohio EPA.
Okay.
And so I think, and they live real close to the Kettering Hospital. So,
Okay, very good.
So yeah, so they're all close. So all in all, the 4 children, all married, and eight
Yeah,
grandchildren.
they had to stop thinking about
Yeah,
that. didn't
I had
they?
to stop and think about that. Eight grandchildren, yes. Yeah.
Well, this is Larry Holmes, the private person. Now, we're going to get into Larry Holmes, the public person, because the first time I ran across Larry Holmes, and you don't even remember this, I'm sure, contrary to popular belief, I had another career before I became a chiropractor. I taught at Greenville High School for several years, and I remember the first year I taught at Greenville was your senior year. And I think the thing, because you graduated in 73.
Yeah, I did, yes.
And the first thing that really came to my mind when I saw Larry Holmes was the care you gave a young man named Leon Harshbarger.
Yeah.
And I was always impressed by that.
Yeah.
Leon is a friend of yours, and you kind of just took care of Leon, didn't
Yeah,
you?
yeah, we did. Yeah, Leon was a lifelong friend. Actually, Leon passed about 10 years ago, right about now. It was in June, and actually, the way we got together, Leon and I got together, was in probably my sophomore year at the high school. And I had my driver's license. Leon had just come to the high school, and he would have been in our class. We had a year out because Leon had cerebral palsy and was legally blind, and he'd had a year out to learn how to read Braille, actually. And so Mr. Hurst said, Paul Hurst says, called me aside and says, "Why? I want to meet you, introduce you to Leon." And he didn't say it in front of Leon, but he says, "Why don't you take him to a few games, because you like going to games?" So that led to us going to pretty much every high school game.
Yes.
For 4 years, and every basketball game, and then that led to, I mean, he was a friend. In fact, he was the best man at our wedding.
Very good.
Yeah, he was best man at our wedding. So a lifelong friend. I dearly miss him. Carol got involved with helping. He lived independently. Once his dad passed, and then he lived independently in the family home on the north side of Greenville for probably 20 years. And so Carol would help with getting groceries, and then the last 5 or 10 years, Debbie and Mike Mathias got involved with us keeping up with Leon's needs, and he passed esophageal cancer. It was pretty difficult at the end. So I had Leon and I had, and he's responsible for things I'm still involved with, which some I like and some I think, doggone you, Leon.
Yeah. Well, all I knew is I remember that made a big impression on me, was what kind of individual you were to be such a good friend and basically a caretaker for Leon. And I knew right then that this man was going to be a public servant because he cares about people and about the community. And so that always made a big impression on me.
Thank you.
I don't know if I ever expressed that to you or not.
No, but thank you. Thank you, yeah. Leon
So
was a big
anyhow,
part.
so now we start getting into the public sector. We've talked about Larry Holmes, the private person, and the business person. Now we come to the private sector, and my gosh, this man's been on so many boards and organizations and has done so many good things for not only Greenville, but Darke County in particular. Let's just talk about how you got involved in some of these things.
I was thinking about that a little bit because I figured you might ask.
Yeah.
And actually,
I ask important questions.
on reflecting, where I got started was with the PTA out at Woodland Heights.
Really?
Yeah, I got involved in the PTA when Heather was in, I don't know, maybe first grade. And that led to being invited to sit on the Superintendent Advisory
The
Board.
advisory committee.
And then that's what kind of led to me making a run and spending 12 years on the school board. And that's where you and I spent quite a bit of time. And
We crossed paths for 10 years on the Greenville School Board.
Yeah. So that was a great. I'm glad I was there. I'm glad you tried to make a positive impact. I guess you never know where you have influence on people, and you want to move things forward in a positive manner. And it doesn't mean it always works out that way.
Yeah.
But you just want to make a positive impact. So we had a great time. I enjoyed my 10 year. I was there 12. Alex joined
Yeah,
about
halfway through.
Yeah.
The second year of Bill Funderburg, I think, took Bill Funderburg's
Yeah,
place.
and I think that was my first term.
Yes, right,
and,
right.
We had our challenges. We had some things that worked out pretty
Yes, we
well. And what I will say is I've had the opportunity to serve on the public city school board with Alex for the 10 years, as you referenced, and we also spent time on the Darke County YMCA board
Right,
together.
right.
And the one thing I was always impressed is Alex is probably the best board member I've interacted with.
I
Yeah.
don't know if I go there, Larry.
Well, well, yeah, I do because I always enjoyed you would be creative in identifying where we may have some opportunities. You were positive about how you pursued that. And occasionally he would agree with me, so we had a great time.
Well, and that's the best thing about Larry. Larry was probably the best prepared individual I've seen. You knew going in to each discussion on the school board, you knew where you stood and you knew the facts and figures and the whys and wherefores, and I appreciate that. We don't want this to be a love fest between the two of us by any stretch of imagination, but we did a lot of good things. We didn't always agree on things. We maybe saw them from different angles. But at the end, we got them worked out.
Yeah, we worked them out.
We did a lot. I thought we advanced the school board, along with the other board members. We advanced the school system through the 90s into the early 2000s.
Right.
And
Sure did.
I've always really appreciated those facts. So thanks for this work. And then we were on the Y board for a while, but you were on a lot of other things before you even started really getting into what I consider the true political arena, county commission.
Yeah, and one of the boards I joined early that I really enjoyed was the Wayne Industries Not-for-Profit Board.
Ah, yes.
And Wayne Industries, because of some things at the state level, doesn't exist today, and that's been merged into PCS, Centered Services, I believe is what that stands for. And that I was on that board 28 years.
Wow.
And-
I knew you were on something similar to that. I wasn't sure it was that long.
Yeah, and I very much enjoyed that. Was on the and that was a great run, and there were some great people on those boards. Served as one of the founding board members for the lay board for the St. Mary's School when they moved that into a lay board, and that was interesting. Yeah,
Oh, really?
Really coming from the public side to the parochial and not for profit. Both are not for profit, but they're funded different ways.
Right.
That was quite interesting, and also spent some, and I enjoyed that. I enjoyed it probably more than they did, but yeah, but we had a good time. And then through that, I served on, coached boys through baseball and soccer, and was on Soccer Association board there for a while. For a long time, was treasurer there. We talked about the YMCA board, was there 6 years. There were several other boards, and I apologize because I can't remember all.
Is this where you opened up about 7 pages?
Yeah, no, I got 7 pages. And I don't want to miss out, I worked with the Historical Society for a period of time.
Okay, very good.
Garst
Up through the
Museum.
Garst, okay.
Yeah, so all in all, just a variety of things
Yeah.
that I got to
That's nice.
do. And when they come pay dividends, I was at one of our grandchildren, or 2 of our grandchildren were in a dance recital, and a young man with a beard comes up and says, "Do you remember me?"
Well, I get that all the time.
Yeah, but he thanked me for what he viewed was a positive influence on him when we were coaching soccer. And I wasn't much of a soccer coach. I've coached with Bill LaFramboise out of GTI and Kent Myers. Those guys knew what they were doing. I just kind of patted them on their head and rooted them on, because I didn't have many skills. So every now and then, I've had that happen 3 times this last last 6 months, and I did tell him I would have recognized him if he didn't have a beard.
And didn't have the beard.
If he didn't have a beard, yeah. So that's all been a nice
Yeah.
run, and the community service was always important. It's important to our family. My wife is real involved in different activities. A lot of it's focused with St. Mary's Church, but she's out working with some older folks. She spent time with hospice, volunteering. So that's just been something that's been important to us.
Well, let me ask you this then. So you retire in 2020. When did the spark arise that, hey, I might consider really getting in the political arena with the running for county commissioner? How'd that all come about?
I know it sounds hokey, but it actually goes back to when you and I were on the school board, and I was wrapping up my time on the school board, and I felt we had done some really positive things for the community, and a lot of my time has been focused with youth, but the community as a whole is important. And we looked around, and I said, maybe if I have more time, if I'm kind of easing into retirement or retired, it seems like this county commissioner thing would be a kind of a fun thing to do. And it'd be a nice way to give back to the community and have a positive impact on the community. Now, you're one of three. It's just like the public school board.
Right.
I mean, you don't do it yourself. And only time will tell how successful you are. But that was the spark.
Okay.
That was the spark, and we got a little closer. We talked about it again, and
Was there just one position available for that term, or was that a two members being elected that year? You remember?
it would have been 2 members elected that
being
year.
elected,
Yeah.
okay.
And as it turned out, it was the year that Mike Rhodes retired.
Okay.
Yeah, and I just kind of fell into that. I was going to run, went to see Mike, said, "Hey, here's my plan," and he says, "Oh, by the way, I announced my retirement. I hadn't
okay.
realized." That worked out.
That worked
okay.
out really well.
Yeah, that worked out really well. So that's what led to that.
Okay. So you get elected, and you serve that 4-year term now. So what, looking back on those 4 years, because like you said, January 2nd, your term expires.
Mm-hmm.
I think Aaron Flatter most likely is going to be taking your place, young man from down in the New Madison area. So over those 4 years, what things have really stood out in your mind as far as accomplishments or, barriers or things of that nature?
Well, let's start out with, because I don't want to end on a negative.
Yeah.
I think what's been the biggest challenge for me is working with the bureaucracy, not necessarily the local bureaucracy, but just how long it takes to get things done. And that's just part of being involved in government pretty much at any level.
Yeah.
And
The red tape out there, huh?
yeah, and the simple seems to be hard. And that's probably been the biggest challenge, and is for me. I don't mind working with people, as you know.
Right.
And it doesn't bother me when people don't agree with me. And actually, if you listen, usually you come out with a better decision if you listen and kind of
Yeah,
modify.
That's true.
And so I doubt very few things that people maybe attribute to me that actually where I started out was the way it ended up, because you take those inputs. So I've never had a problem with community. Occasionally folks are difficult, and sometimes I'm challenged to understand
Where they're coming from.
their perspective. I do really try to be respectful and listen and understand, but occasionally I just can't get there. But the things that we did, that kind of worked out okay, I think that'll stand some test of time, is we're in the process of bringing up the broadband, the internet countywide. Parts of that's going to be implemented over the next 4 weeks.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
This summer yet?
Yeah,
Okay.
this summer, not all of it, because there's a tower to be built up in the northwest part of the county. That's one of the more significant events that we've been able to move forward. Was able to move forward countywide transportation. That got started in February, and that's been, actually, there's more activity more activity there than I anticipated.
Is that through GTS?
Yeah, Greenville
okay.
Transit.
Yeah, that's
yeah,
what I thought
yeah.
that came about.
And that's working out well. That's been a nice partnership. In the background, we did set some boundaries. We on the solar and wind with a resolution. It could get tested in court someday, but it really was after of protecting county property as well as respecting the boundaries for both people on both sides of that boundary. And we did setbacks and so forth there.
You know, one thing, not only on the school board, but with the commission and any other government agency like that, a lot of times people don't understand exactly what your legal authority is. They think, well, you should be able to do that.
Yeah.
Well, I know that. Well, in the solar farms, a lot of people say, well, how come the commissioner? Well, that's outside your jurisdiction.
Right. You know, once they put House Bill 52 in, that gave us some oversight on larger solar projects. We have not had one of those come forward. What did come forward would have been grandfathered, so that would have taken a different path. And we had very little rights and then little authority over that.
Yeah, but a lot of times people thought, like, the commissioners, they're all powerful and all seeing. Well, you might be all seeing, but you're not all powerful because you're limited in your scope of practice or scope of duties. Yeah.
Yeah.
And people just don't get that.
No, and sometimes it's hard for us to accept.
I understand
There's
that,
some
too.
areas that we think we should have influence that we don't.
Yeah.
And so it cuts both ways.
Yeah.
But you know, not always have that's probably one of them where there's a lot of emotions and there's still some challenges there. While I talk about that, the one thing I found difficult on the school board that's different for this is every decision made at the school board level was tied to an emotion somewhere.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a parent, a teacher, an administrator. Someone always, there was something they felt was personal and emotional. That's one thing that with the county commissioner, I have not run into that as much. I mean, you know, we had the solar thing. Just recently, Anderson invited the commissioners to a meeting to introduce that they're looking at doing some CO2 sequestration.
Which was fought over, 5-6 years ago?
Actually, it was 2009.
It's been that long?
Yeah,
Wow.
I went back, so.
Oh my, I didn't think it had been that long.
Yeah, and so we're just getting introduced to the topic, and we need to learn what it really represents. People need to be patient about that, because it's got a long runway to it, but we probably, as commissioners, have less influence on this than we even did on the solar topic.
Farms, huh?
And so we're working through that. And that's going to be another example of where a lot of dialogue will be difficult because emotion's tied to it.
Yeah.
And we'll get through it, though. We'll
Yeah.
get through it.
Yeah.
And
I know you had the airport.
yeah, a lot of that was underway when I joined the airport, but we certainly, that's been, the terminal has been built and is operational. The older terminal will be coming down sometime over the next 6 months. Don't have a timeline on there. And there'll be some other things going out there, such as moving the fuel farm, which will be a fairly good size project. And that was one that I probably had a little disagreement with the board about. And it wasn't a disagreement about the airport and the terminal itself. It was more, can we do this in a little bit more moderation? So that was where I would have liked to see us just a little bit more moderate in how we approached it. It serves the community. Exactly how it serves the community is open to some discussion, but there's parts that are flowing in there for manufacturers when needed. Midmark supports their customer and marketing activities out of there. Probably one of the best things out there for us is the Care Flight.
Yes.
The Care Flight is something that's really has been real beneficial to our community, and so we're pleased to have them there. So we've got that. some of the things that they're going to see coming forward.
Yeah, what's coming forward? This sequestering. I just heard about the CO2 sequestering here just a week or so ago, that it was coming back. What else is out there on the horizon that? And I know there's always stuff that pops its ugly head up,
Yeah.
which you're not expecting. That's part of why you got the big bucks as county commissioner,
Yeah,
right? To
that's
deal
right.
with that.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right, Dave. And the sequestering was not on our radar screen until last Tuesday.
Yeah,
So
boom,
that
there
was
it
like,
is.
here it is. The one that we've been working on county facilities. And,
Okay.
and the one that's going to be an eye popper for folks is, what a lot of folks refer to as the American Ag Building, the out in the park. I don't really know when the county took that facility over from American Ag, and it's got to be over 30 years.
At least.
It's been quite a while, and probate courts there, juvenile courts there, Board of Elections, and Health Department. So it's got a lot of vital services, and that facility has not been touched since the county's owned it. Some minor repairs here and there. We're looking doing a renovation there, and it's probably going to exceed $5 million. And so that'll catch. I mean, that caught my attention.
Yeah.
Because when we started, we had at least I had a different number in mind. So we're working through that. How to make better use of the facility owned out on Wagner Avenue.
Yeah, I was just getting ready to ask, because the county still owns out there by Job and Family Services in that stretch of strip mall there,
Right,
correct?
right. And so Goodwill's out there, Harbor Freight's out there, but so is Edison State and Job and Family Services, Veterans Administration. But we do have a little dead space in there, and we're doing some, we brought in some countywide storage there. They had records put in closets from everywhere from the law library to a chicken house to I don't know where else, and we've kind of swept those all together in one spot. But that space is still underutilized. Go ahead.
What kind of budget does the county commissions work with right now?
All in, that goes through the treasury is probably about 130 million. The part that the county that's somewhat discretionary and that the commissioners kind of have their hands on is about 30 million.
Okay.
Because so then that covers a lot of things from the sheriff to the courthouse to much of the courts and Job and Family Services. So so there's a lot of activity. There's roughly I believe it's 450 folks that on the county payroll.
Okay,
And
450 employees.
I believe I have the right number there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know that. I wasn't
Yeah.
sure how many employees there were. 450 is quite a few.
Yeah, there's quite a few. So there's a lot more activity than you think there. And a lot of elected officials have their own, I mean, we may pay them, but they report to elected officials,
Right.
different elected official.
For folks out there that want to attend a county commission meeting, it's held how many times a week?
2 times a week, 1:30 on Tuesdays and Thursdays. At the in the building next door to the courthouse is the commissioner's office, and that was the county jail until I think 73 or 74. I can't
Yeah, it was, quite a bit back there.
Yeah.
We're starting to talk back where you and I are talking back 40, 50 years ago.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
it was yesterday, right?
Yeah, thank you, because you kind of remember it, but you don't remember it.
Yeah, exactly right. Well, anyhow, so you're coming to the end of your term here. What are your future plans? I know you've done a lot of traveling, you're still riding your bike somewhat capably. We won't bring that up, but.
No, you're welcome to bring that up, yeah.
How's your collarbone now, Larry?
I've had 2 surgeries for that, and it's coming along.
It just took a tumble off the bike, right?
I managed not quite to miss a car door, but I will I really encourage people to wear a helmet. I've had actually 10 years ago I ran into a steel pole. That was a pretty significant event.
It just jumped out in front of you unexpectedly?
Leonard Lamppost jumped right out there and got me, and I'm really embarrassed about that one. But I rode into.
Well, the car door might qualify.
Yeah, car, but a steel lamppost is a little hard to explain.
Well, yeah. So what do you have planned now? I mean, you're so used to being so involved. I mean, I can't see you ever quitting cold turkey on stuff.
Well, yes, and as reality's coming in, I'm hoping to, we've not traveled a lot the last 5 years between the pandemic and different events.
Right.
So I'm hoping to travel a little bit, nothing too extensive, maybe 2 or 3 reasonable trips a year. And then spend a lot of time with grandkids.
Right.
It's the one thing I didn't have that I thought I would have more time of in the county commissioner role was flexibility of time. And you just don't have the flexibility time you anticipate. You think you can structure it in a way that you've got a lot of free time, and there's just all kinds of stuff that comes up.
Yeah. It's like
Even-
on a school board and so forth. People don't realize there's a lot more that goes into the background than just the meeting times.
Right.
And knowing Larry, you certainly always do your background work, so you're always prepared. So
Yeah, you just gotta be engaged. So I'm looking forward to just having some time and with family and maybe some travel. But I'm also hoping to stay engaged in maybe some committee work that impacts our area, our community, or maybe even on a wider scale. So we'll see how that leads. I don't know if that's going to come together or not, but I'd like to stay. But I don't want to keep as busy I am now. I'd like to have something that's structured, but not as
rigid.
rigid. Yes.
Yeah, I understand. Been there and doing that. So.
Yeah, and you say you say I'm going to cut back, and all of a sudden you let too much get in.
Yeah, they just kind of find this way of finding you and creeping into your life.
Yeah, it
Next
does.
thing you know, you look at your calendar and
It's full. Like
it's booked full again. Well, I tell you what, thanks for taking the time to come in, because this man has been just a blessing and to the entire Darke County community with everything you've done over the years, and we're a lot better community because of your presence and your input and everything you've done. We certainly appreciate that.
Well,
Larry.
thank you for the kind words. Thank you.
Anyhow, go out and get him here today, Commissioner. Make the world a better place. This has been Larry Holmes, Darke County Commissioner, and just so glad to have you with us today. And on behalf of Nick Schmidt, my videographer, I'm Alex Warner. Thanks for tuning in this episode of Talk of the Town. Have a good day out there, everybody.
Bye.